point out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 517th edition of Energy Week with George Harvey and Tom Fennell, the amazing Tom Fennell, the invisible man. He is in the flesh, but he is not visible. Okay, today is the 6th of April. That is the day that we're recording this, and the news that we're dealing with starts a week ago today on the 30th of March. And this all comes from my blog, geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com. And you can go there, click on the calendar for the date, and find the specific article you want to read if you want to read one of these articles.
Yeah, they're highlighted in blue. And some of them are well worth looking at if you've got time. Yeah,
some of them really are. The other thing that you can do is down lower on the screen on your computer, there's a downloadable file that has the specific pieces that we're talking about, and with live links, and also there's a website you can click on to get to live links.
These blue links take you directly to the article.
Right. So we're starting on the 30th of March, which is a Thursday, and we have a picture, believe it or not, of the Vanuatu equivalent of a hotel.
Well, they're thatched roof cottages, but they're not primitive.
Yeah,
They're fully equipped, world class.
Yeah. Okay. So they have Wi-Fi and...
Oh, everything you want. Fully equipped, world class.
Yeah, there you go.
Thatched roofs.
Okay, the article is from CNN.
World's highest court can set out countries' climate obligations after Vanuatu secures a historic UN vote.
Yes. Pacific Island nation of Vanuatu won a historic vote at the UN that calls on the world's highest court to establish for the first time the obligations countries have to address the climate crisis and the consequences that they face if they fail to do that.
Well, Vanuatu is very much at risk. I mean, there's almost nothing to them. It's a ring of long, skinny islands with a big moat in the middle.
Yeah. And I have read, as I recall, that most of the land on Vanuatu is less than 1 meter above sea level.
I would argue with that. I'd say 6 feet.
You would? Okay. That's fine. Maybe 6 feet. But, you know, what this means is that...
Better not get down on your knees, that's for sure.
Yeah. A sea level rise of a couple of inches is enough to reduce the amount of land these people have substantially. So,
and as of now, it's still a vacation spot.
Oh yeah, well that's what that picture was. It was a picture of a place where people could go and enjoy themselves. It looks to me like it would be it's a thing to enjoy enormously. Until
they're all state of the art. I mean, these aren't thatched roof cottages, thatched roof huts. These are thatched roof, high class. Motel rooms.
Accommodations.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to go on. We're going to take a look. That was from CNN. We have another item from CNN coming up, and this also has to do with oceans.
Well, you got a picture of some dolphins there.
Yeah. You could miss them if you don't know what to look for.
They're there.
Yeah, they're there. The right side of the screen in the lower quadrant. You can see the fins on the backs of 3 of them.
Sure you can.
And those waves that are in that picture on the right side are waves that are there because there's dolphins breaking the surface or just below the surface of the water, or some of it. You'll notice that there's a big disturbance behind each of these 3 dolphins. And I think that's because when they propel themselves, their tail goes up and down rather than side to side the way fish tails do.
That is true.
Yeah. And I think they're producing those waves behind them as they go. So anyway, this particular article comes from CNN, and you have a title.
Crucial. Antarctic ocean circulation heading for collapse if planet warming pollution remains high.
Yeah, this is not good. Melting ice in the Antarctic is not just raising sea levels, but it's slowing down the deep ocean circulation with vast implications. A study published in the journal Nature warns the system collapse could happen before the end of this century.
If we keep doing too little, too late, it will happen before the end of the century.
I think it's probably going to happen. When we stop emitting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, climate change is going to continue to get worse for at least several decades.
Yeah, it will.
And we're not even slowing down yet.
It's already baked into the cake.
It's already baked into the cake. And one thing that I want to mention, I did a little research on this, and the thought is that this particular circulation of the ocean, which has ramifications all over the world, and we will see that later. There's a map that we come to at a different article on the same subject. We will that circulation kind of coincides with the Gulf Stream, but it isn't the Gulf Stream. And the Gulf Stream, according to what I read, will probably continue going even if this stops.
By the way, I swam with the dolphins on a trip that I went to in Cuba.
Did you?
Yeah, I was in a dolphin tank. I've touched dolphins. They're rubbery.
Okay. I've never got that close to dolphins. I have seen whales, but you know. Okay.
Oh, I touch dolphins. I rub my hand on their skin.
Yeah, they probably enjoy the
I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
They weren't running away from me.
Okay, our next item is from CNN again. Again, and here, this is a really interesting picture for me. That footbridge across that little brook is not a little brook. That's the Mississippi River.
That's the headwaters of the Mississippi.
That's right. And if you look in the background, you can see a bunch of stones that look kind of like a weir, but I've seen pictures of people walking across that. They're stepping stones, but they're the marker that separates the Mississippi River from the lake there that feeds it. So those stones mark the actual beginning of the Mississippi River.
Yeah, right. It's right there.
Yeah. And this is this article is from CNN.
Senate passes bill to rescind EPA waterway rule in a rebuke of the Biden administration regulations.
Yeah, the Senate passed a bill that will rescind a Biden administration policy regulating, quote, waters of the United States, end quote. The bill challenges an EPA rule that is argued to place a burden on farmers by being too restrictive in defining what is a navigable waterway. And
well, this is just a bill. This isn't a law yet.
No, it's not, and it's not going to be a law because it's not going to be advanced by the House, and even if it were, it wouldn't be signed by the president. They'd have to come back and have a veto to get it going. This is a dead issue, but it
really is. Well, in any case, the Clean Water Act allows the Environmental Protection Agency to regulate, quote, waters of the United States.
Yes.
The exact definition of such waters remains unclear.
Right, which means that river that we're seeing in the picture, which is the Mississippi River, could conceivably be regulated, probably is regulated, as navigable water. Now, even if you I don't know, you
means more than just a canoe.
Yeah, if in the days when the earliest settlers were involved, navigable meant canoe. So, you know. Anyway, should we go on?
Can't dance.
I like that picture, but anyway.
This is a nice picture. industry, yeah.
Our next item is from Renewable Energy Magazine. And, yeah.
And it says, and I quote, Sun Day campaign. EIA data review shows U.S. renewable energy generation grew by 8.3% in 2022.
Yes, according to a review by the Sun Day campaign. Sun Day is 2 words. Yeah. Of data recently released by the U.S. Energy Information Administration, renewable energy sources provided 12.99% of the nation's total energy production in 2022. Now that, when they
just say 13%.
I don't know. They have to be precise. Why didn't they say 12.997%? I don't know. The thing that I should point out here is that what they're talking about here includes solar, it includes wind, it includes geothermal, it includes a couple of other things.
It's a very good use of real estate.
Yes, it is, but it also includes this. I'm sorry, I got off on the wrong foot here. This is renewable energy. It's not renewable electricity. So it includes things that are used to generate electricity, but it also includes other uses of energy, which includes heating our homes, the automobiles we drive, the airplanes that fly. All of that is included in this.
Okay, not necessarily in the picture, but in the article.
Right. And the 12.99%, I wanted to be careful here because the 12.99% doesn't sound high enough, because we know that the over 20% of the electricity is from renewable sources. But in this,
yes, well, it's not just electricity.
It's not just electricity. So we're stepping slowly in the right direction, but just slowly.
Hope it's not too slow.
I hope it's not too slow. I will tell you that I'm more worried about other things right now than climate change.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
One of which being Putin.
Well, yeah, being Putin. The question of, every time we turn...
The other guy being Trump.
What?
The other guy being Trump.
Well, I'm not... I could be more worried about Trump, but the thing about Putin is that every time you turn around, Putin or Medvedev or one of those people in that clique start saying, you shouldn't be doing that. We have nuclear bombs. And,
That's scary.
What?
That's scary.
It is. And I think that they either don't understand or they don't care. And the stuff that's going on at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant is really disturbing. So anyway, we've got plenty of things to worry about. But hopefully, I will tell you, Tom, that this situation reminds me of something that was told to me by a friend of mine who is in the Army, the Army Security Agency, the ASA. And he said that when they interviewed people for the ASA, they would ask them questions. What would you do if? And, what would you do if you were out in the tundra and you didn't have any food? Well, you dig down until you hit the permafrost if you're hungry enough, because you can eat the stuff that's been frozen under there, some of it. And they said, what would you do if you were on a tiny island, there was no water, and so forth and so forth. The situation is hopeless. And he said he didn't know. And they told him the proper answer to this question. And this was the Army as of probably 1960. The correct answer for the Army's question about what do you do in a hopeless situation is pray.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now our next item, and this picture of the Whiteley wind farm, which is in Scotland, by the way, the article is from insider.co.uk.
And it says, and I quote, record level of renewable electricity generated in Scotland during 2022.
Yeah, and you know, this is nice, but it's not very surprisable because they put more and more renewable capacity in. With more renewable capacity, you would expect more renewable generation. Okay. Yeah, renewable electricity generation reached record levels in Scotland during 2022. Over the year, a total of 35.3 terawatt hours was generated.
Bigger than gigawatts.
That's right. A terawatt is 1,000 gigawatts. Maybe we should call that terror watt because it's just terrifyingly big. It's just up 28.1% on 2021 and an increase of 9.8% from 2020, the previous record year. The rise was mainly driven by an increase in offshore wind generation.
Onshore.
Of onshore, did I say? I said offshore. You're right. It's onshore. Thank you. Okay. You have more on that?
No, let's move along.
We have an item from Clean Technica.
Of all things, it's a drilling rig.
It's a drilling rig. That's right. This is an interesting article, if I remember.
Well, let's take me out, because how can you drill for a solid metal?
Well, you're not.
They explain that.
Yeah. Okay, what do you got for a title?
They're drilling for liquid gold in Texas, but this time it isn't oil, it's lithium.
Yeah. If you see a drilling rig going up in Texas, it's easy to assume that it must have something to do with oil and gas production. But some drilling rigs in East Texas are helping provide the lithium clean technologies like electric cars and home energy storage need. So,
well, I'll explain that.
Yeah.
Lithium brine is a concentrated solution of water and the mineral lithium found in underground deposits.
Right.
It's a key source of lithium.
Yeah.
Which, as we know, is used in batteries, glass,
Right.
ceramic, and other industries. So lithium brine, you can actually pull it out from the ground like you're pulling out oil.
Yeah.
You can pull it.
And the fact that it's brine means that these are lithium salts. So it's
Exactly.
going to be like lithium chloride. I don't know what lithium chloride is like, but my bet is that it's pretty much like ordinary table salt.
I would not bet against that.
Yeah.
Sodium chloride, lithium chloride, same.
Yeah, I've handled a lot of salts in my age, and some of them were kind of fascinating. You know, like, what was it that was so... There was one of those salts, it just gave off the most amazing heat when it melted, when it dissolved.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, well, but you know, they have the salts that you spread for snow give off heat when they dissolve, and they do that by not having sodium chloride. They have other things mixed in. I can't remember what the stuff was.
Some other chloride.
Yeah, or fluoride, or you know.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Okay, should we go on?
Yeah, we're making progress. We're up to Saturday, April 1st already.
We are, and this is April Fool's Day, but we don't have any jokes today. We have an item from Clean Energy Wire, and that weird-looking picture in the background, I'll put it up so people can see it, is a nuclear power plant at Neckar-Westheim in Germany. And that looks like it's got two reactors, one kind of in the middle of the picture and one slightly to the right and up from it.
Those are those balls.
Those balls. And it has a cooling tower, which is a very low cooling tower.
That's the lower right?
Yeah.
Funny looking cooling tower, isn't it?
It is, you know, but I think the people who built these things really didn't like the appearance of those big, tall cooling towers. Or maybe this was just cheaper. Anyway, this is from Clean Energy Wire.
Germany will complete nuclear phase-out as planned, but technology risks remain.
Yeah, in Germany, the era of nuclear power will end on the 15th of April as planned. That's just a few days from now. The country's environmental minister said, Minister Steffi Lemke stressed that the phase out would not endanger the power supply security in Germany or other countries. And what's happened here is that Germany has had this goal of getting away from nuclear power ever since the Fukushima disaster in Japan in 2011. They were actually on their way to doing it before that, but they sped it up when that happened. And they were going to have all these closed last year, but with the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the subsequent loss of, they were being
It's just the uncertainty.
Yeah, they were essentially being blackmailed by Russia. So they decided they'd keep the nuclear plants going for a few extra months. But now they're shutting them down. And the amount of renewable energy that's been added in Germany during those months and this time that they've been feeling very insecure because of the Russian actions, the amount of renewable energy that's gone is just amazing. So, anyway. Let's move on. Okay. We have
pictures of machinery here.
This is machinery that's making solar panels. And this is an article from Clean Technica. Let me put this up so people can see it. There we go.
Turning America into a solar manufacturing powerhouse.
Right.
Now that's significant.
Yes, it is. In 2021, the Solar Energy Industry Association's goal to create 50 gigawatts of U.S. production capacity by 2030 seemed far-fetched. But now that goal is within reach. The country is on its way to becoming the most competitive and collaborative solar and storage industry in the world. And
that's good news.
It is. And, I will tell you, I will believe that it will be the most competitive and collaborative when I see it happen, or maybe not even then. But there's been a lot of headway made in the last few months.
I hope it's not too little and too late.
I hope so. If you give up hope, Tom, pray. Okay, our next item is also from Clean Technica.
Nice picture of a car.
Yeah, without a grill.
Without a grill? How about that?
And I was thinking of this, Tom. You always observe that electric vehicles don't have grills. And it just dawned on me that, by golly, those grills really make cars inefficient, don't they?
Sort of, too. They'd be a lot more slippery if they didn't have a grill in front.
Yeah, they would. But the thing is,
this car looks pretty slippery.
Yeah, those internal combustion machines, gasoline and diesel oil, diesel machines and so forth. The overwhelming majority of the energy that they use is dissipated in heat. Yep. It doesn't get to the tires. If you have a 200 horsepower car, you're probably getting 30 some odd horsepower to the tires at best. And it's the rest of it is just heating the atmosphere up.
I was going to say, it's just dissipated as heat.
That's right. And that's why they have grills so they can get the radiator to cool the engine. Okay.
Well, let me read the headline here.
Yeah, let's do that.
SAIC, GM, and Wuling JV launched the Wuling Bingo in China, and it's priced at just $8,682.
Yeah, which is a lot of money for a bingo chip.
I would think.
The Wuling Bingo, and I've thought that maybe that name is derived from the American game, and maybe it's a Chinese name, but I don't think it's Chinese.
The Chinese are fond of using English names.
Yeah, they are. The Wuling Bingo, a 5-door hatchback, was launched in China. It will have two options, one with a 30 kilowatt, which is 41 horsepower motor, and another with a 50 kilowatt, which is 68 horsepower. They will come with batteries of 17.3 kilowatt hours and 31.9 kilowatt hours, and ranges of 203 kilometers to 333 kilometers.
The
And
miles, that's 125 and 200.
thank you very much. I want to point out, you said that they're fond of English names. Look in the
Yeah.
background behind that car. It says Mini EV.
Huh?
It
Oh, yeah.
it does.
It certainly does.
Now, I can tell you, I've thought about it good and hard to figure out whether the Chinese would ever do what Mao Zedong wanted, which was to use the same alphabet that the English and French and so forth use. It didn't happen for him. It's probably not going to happen. And the reason I say that is because they've got about 500 languages, 600 languages being spoken in China. They only have one written language.
Oh, yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And so everybody can agree on what the written language says because it's not sound based. And, you know, everybody in China who's going to be literate has to learn a second language, which is that language. Anyway, these EVs are coming along, and the big thing here is there's this five-door EV that costs less than $9,000. So
In China.
in China, yeah. In the United States, it would.
Car. I mean, how often do you need a car? More of a car than that. You know,
Well,
you're driving to and from work. That's all you need.
That is correct. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Okay, our next item is from CNN.
I guess it is.
And we have a picture of a
High
place.
waves in an El Nino year.
Yeah, that cafe, I would bet, doesn't have any customers in it.
Not that day.
Okay.
I'll touch base on that after you talk.
Well, what's the title?
The oceans just reached their hottest temperature on record as El Nino looms.
Looms. That's an interesting word. Ocean temperatures have steadily risen over the past several years, despite a lengthy cooling La Nina period. The oceans have been record warm for the past 4 years. Scientists reported in January temperatures are still rising, and on top of that, an El Nino is coming, and it will warm things up even more.
Well, El Nino means the baby, the male baby,
Yeah.
or more correctly, the Christ child.
Yeah,
And it's so cold because these El Ninos seem to occur around Christmas time.
yes,
And then they came up with La Nina, which it means little girl baby, but that's all it means.
yeah,
Well, in any case, El Nino means high pressure systems over the western Pacific. Think Japan, with
Yeah.
warmer water. And La Nina is the exact opposite. It's low pressure systems over the eastern Pacific, like
yeah. And the
colder ones.
place where this hit South America, which is around Ecuador, the people in South America have known for decades, maybe generations, that these El Nino periods came because the fish would all go away in the warmer water. They don't have as much oxygen and they don't like it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. We have a picture of a charging EV.
Yes, we do. And I guess it's the back of the car because that red thing looks like a taillight.
Yeah, I believe you're right there, Tom. And this is from Clean Technica.
I had trouble figuring that one out.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at it now. It looks like a taillight.
Yes, it does. What do you have for a title?
In any case, it's charging an EV. And the title of the article is that the U.S. Treasury releases new EV tax credit rules.
Right. The U.S. Treasury has published its new EV tax credit rules. The window of opportunity to claim the full tax credit is set to close on April 18th of this year.
That's coming up quickly.
It's going to be here in a few days. If you are in a position to make a new EV purchase before then, you may want to hurry over to your nearest dealer and get the paperwork done post haste. Now, I've read articles about this new set of EV credit rules, and I got to tell you, they're horrible. It's
boy.
just impossible to understand them.
I think that's on purpose.
It might be, but Joe Manchin is really upset about them, and he's apparently planning on suing over them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting dimension is.
Yeah, but I really can't say much more than that, because when I read the articles, I just got more and more confused. Anyway, we have a picture of cherry blossoms in
A pretty picture,
isn't it? District of Columbia.
I've never seen the cherry blossoms, but they're world class.
Oh yeah, they are. They are indeed. We have a cherry tree where I live, so we have cherry blossoms, and in fact, the buds are starting to expand. And I should tell you, Tom, I had a funny experience. Speaking of blossoms, earlier, 3 or 4 weeks ago, it's still going on. I got an interesting scent in my kitchen. This is a smell. And it took me less than a minute to figure out what it was. And it's been it got stronger over a period of about 3 weeks. I have citrus trees. I've talked about these in pots. And one of them was sitting in the kitchen window, and that particular citrus tree had gone into bloom. And yeah, and it's some citrus trees, lemons are very well known for this, but the blood orange that I've got is similar. They have a very sweet, beautiful smell.
So it adds to the indoor odor. It is an odor, but it's a nice odor.
Yeah, it is. And lime trees, in my experience, are not likely to have blooms, but now for the first time, because this is a very young tree, that tree is trying to make fruit. The little teeny fruit, which are no bigger now than a sesame seed, are starting to set on that tree. So probably by late fall, we'll have a couple of blood oranges from it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, we should talk about this article. This is from Wired.
Washington's cherry blooms draw crowds, and climate questions.
Yes, in the nation's capital, nothing captures springtime more than swaths of soft pink cherry blossoms slowly emerging. This year, it was anticipated between March 22nd and March 25th, while directly in line with last year's peak. This is 2 weeks earlier than the historic average.
Interesting.
So they're saying
things we don't know.
Yeah, cherry trees are very well known, by the way, for being fooled by warm periods in the winter and suddenly deciding they're going to have their flowers open.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we're up to Monday, April 3rd. What do you think of that?
All day.
Okay. And we have a picture of
Providence, Rhode Island.
Providence, Rhode Island, which is one of the most confusing cities I've ever been in.
Oh, when I lived in Providence, they didn't have any tall buildings like that.
Yeah. Well, you know what is confusing to me about Providence? I used to drive through Providence every once in a while on Route 44.
Oh, yeah.
And Route 44, there's a block in the middle of Providence where the streets are all one way. So Route 44 has signs that say Route 44 left-hand turn. And it has one of those and another and another and another, and then you're back to where you were. And I looked and I could not find a sign saying Route 44 West or even Route 44 East. So, I was like Charlie on the MTA. I was stuck there for years. Okay, what do you got? This is from the Brown Daily Herald, which, by the way, is from Brown University.
Brown University, sure.
Yeah.
Climate change, lack of maintenance threatens Providence infrastructure.
Yeah. The Providence Preservation Society listed all of Providence's infrastructure on its 2023 Most Endangered Properties list, released in January, a decision made due to the city's vulnerability to climate change, PPS advocacy manager Adriana Hazelton said. Now that PPS is Providence Preservation Society. So basically, for a bunch of reasons, lack of maintenance being one of them, but climate change with rising seas and so forth being another, they're just saying we got to do something here.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, you have more on that one?
No, the article is. There's not a lot of information there that the headline doesn't convey.
Okay, we have a picture of a refinery.
How about that?
Yeah, well, what do you suppose they're refining? Okay, this is from the BBC.
Oil prices surge after surprise move to cut output.
Oil prices have surged after several major oil exporters announced surprise production cuts. The price of Brent crude oil jumped by over 7% to above $85 as trading began. I remember when oil prices people were complaining because of the high price of oil when it was $7 a barrel. And it's $85.
Wow.
Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and several Gulf states said they were cutting output by more than 1 million barrels per day.
So they want to institutionalize that price.
What they're trying to do here is make money.
Yeah.
Okay, our next item is from CNN. I bet you recognize those initials.
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah. That picture is Fisherman's Wharf.
In San Francisco.
In San Francisco. That is what it is. And
California salmon fishers warn of, quote, hard times coming as they face canceled season.
Yeah.
They haven't canceled it yet, but they're getting ready to.
They're getting ready to. And I think my recollection is they have only canceled one season in the past. Department of Fish and Wildlife officials in California and Oregon may recommend a ban on salmon fishing this year to protect the falling Chinook salmon populations. Scientists say dam construction and drought fueled by climate change have reduced the fish numbers. And I can tell you, in this article, there was a woman who was a salmon fisherman, and she said that they weren't planning on fishing because there just weren't any fish. So, what do you do? Okay, should we move on?
That's what I think we should do.
Okay, thank you for your opinion. We're up to Tuesday, April 4th, and we have a picture here of a Volvo.
Yesterday, wasn't it?
Huh?
That was yesterday, wasn't it?
Tuesday? Yes, it was. No, it was the day before yesterday. Today's Thursday. That is a Volvo truck, and Volvo trucks are not made by the same company that makes Volvo cars, by the way.
Correct. They were at one time one company, but they split. And
the Volvo truck company, I believe, is Chinese now.
I think you're right.
Okay, this is from Clean Technica.
EPA grants California electric heavy-duty trucks waiver.
Yes, for decades, California has had stricter standards on emissions than the federal government, the rest of the U.S., but only for passenger cars and light trucks. Cement mixers, tractor trailers, garbage trucks, and other heavy trucks, and boy, just think of all the black smoke belching out of those things. Those trucks, when they were sold in the state, only had to meet federal guidelines. Now, the California Air Sources Board may regulate them too, and that's particularly important for us in Vermont because we follow the California guidelines.
But does it make sense not to regulate them?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Tom.
I mean, you see the truck down the highway blurting out black smoke.
Yes.
That's not good.
No, it's not good. And when I think about this, I think about a time that I was, when I was probably 25, 26 years old, and I had a couple of little kids.
Ancient history.
And we had the bedrooms in the house were on the second floor, and there was a nest of robins right outside one of the windows. And
that's cool.
The kids would go and look at the little robins.
Oh, I bet the kids really got a kick out of it.
Oh, they did. And I went to some place that was some ways away, and I had to go through northeastern New Jersey, and I don't remember exactly what the city was. I don't think it was Newark, but it was in that area. And I was on an interstate highway, and it had a detour that went onto residential streets. And I was behind a very long line of trucks that were just blowing smoke up into the trees on that residential street. And I was thinking of the number of birds' nests that were up there. And my bet is that there wasn't a single baby robin that survived that. Because I wouldn't
bet on that one.
Yeah. They're horrible. They have to be regulated. Okay, should we move on?
It is.
Okay. We have a picture which is one of the most disturbing I've seen.
The picture is a drought in a Sal reservoir.
Yeah, in Spain. And that look like a reservoir to you?
Not a very successful one.
No. This is from the BBC.
Climate change. Catalonia in a grip of the worst drought in decades. Now, Catalonia is in Spain.
It's in Spain, yeah. In the Sal Reservoir of Spain, teams of small boats are hard at work hauling out fish with nets. The idea is to remove them before they die and rot in the water, making it unusable for human consumption. By golly, there's not a lot of water there for human consumption.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the water level has dropped to below 10% of the reservoir's capacity. Now, I have to tell you, I think this is, in one of the higher areas of the reservoir. So that isn't 10%. That's more like 0.5%. But still, this is not good.
It's not good. No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Not in the slightest. However, we have a solution for the drought in California. If you're interested in solutions.
Is this a picture that we're bringing up?
Yeah.
What is that? What is that white stuff?
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
From nearly no snow to a potentially record-breaking pileup in California. That's what that picture is.
Yeah, this is from CNN. After a remarkable series of winter storms, California water officials reported in their April snow survey, they do the survey every month, the Sierra snowpack is among the largest on record, and the records go back to the 1950s. Last year, the snow depth in early April, on April 2nd, was 2.5 inches. This year, it's 126.5 inches.
That's 50 times.
Yeah, and 126 inches. This is packed snow. This is not the total of the amount of snow that fell. This is the amount of snow that's on the ground. It's packed down, and it's 126.5 inches.
That's a lot of snow.
That's a lot of snow. 120 inches is 10 feet. And, what we're seeing here is the snow accumulation on trees. There it is.
I guess that's a house in the middle of it.
I think that might be just trees that the snow, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I've known people who lived in the Sierra Nevadas, and they said that it was just crazy when the snow was deep. They'd have plywood faced tunnels going out to the road, so they didn't have to shovel their walk, because if they had snow that was deep enough, they wouldn't get out.
Yeah.
But it does remind me of a story. We had a 20-inch snowfall in Illinois when I lived there, and the snow came down on Thursday and Friday, and there was no school on Friday. And when I went into school on Monday, there was a little girl in my class who was talking about how she got up on Friday morning and she was just scared stiff because she looked out the window and she saw that everything was covered. Her window was covered with snow. That was a second-story window.
Yeah.
And she thought, how are we ever going to get out of this house? And then she walked downstairs, and in those days, houses in that part of Illinois that were relatively new all had picture windows. You could have a huge wall across the street, and you'd have a picture window to look at it. But her house had a picture window, and when she got to the first floor, the picture window was facing a bare lawn. And what had happened was the wind had just been blowing out of the north all night long. And the snow had been piling up on one side of the house and not on the other. So her window was covered by a drift. But anyway.
Way back when, a friend of mine went to a college in upstate New York on one of the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
And he talked about the enormous amount of snow they had. You couldn't go in and out of the front door.
Yeah.
You had to jump out of the window on the second floor.
That's the way things are. Well, there are places.
I think it was Oswego State.
Yeah, there are places you can find pictures of 2-story outhouses.
Wow.
The lower one is what you use when you can get to it, and if you can't get to it, you walk on the snow to the upper one.
Wow.
Okay, we were talking about the ocean conveyor belt. Whoops, wrong picture. There we go. The ocean conveyor belt.
Looks like a conveyor belt to me, doesn't it?
Yeah, and this is from Clean Technica. This is more about that thing in Antarctica. So
meltwater in Antarctica could stall major ocean currents. That's not good news.
No, this is not good news. This is when those currents stall, even if it doesn't stall the Gulf Stream, it'll have effects on countries all over the world where their weather can change, their climate can change very rapidly.
Well, you can see by that picture that Europe is considerably warmer because of these currents.
Yes. And the Gulf Stream is kind of works with the current in that part of the whole thing. You'll notice that this current does not go into the Gulf of Mexico. And the Gulf of Mexico is the source of the Gulf Stream. So,
so that's not the Gulf Stream.
No, this is not the Gulf Stream, but they do kind of join in places there. And all of that area, Norway, the UK, look at Norway. Norway is as far to the north as Greenland. The UK is farther to the north than Newfoundland, and it's like you would think that the UK would be icy cold all the time.
Well, except for these currents.
Except for these currents, and when these currents fail, it's not going to be pretty. But it's all over the rest of the world too. Okay.
The article takes a look at that. It says meltwater in Antarctica could stall major ocean currents. That could change the climates of everything. Yeah,
for those who live along the east coast of the U.S. and Europe are familiar with the Gulf Stream. Without it, much of the Europe would not be uninhabitable, but it would be a lot colder than it is. As the Antarctic ice melts, the Gulf Stream and other ocean currents are slowing down a lot. And the Gulf Stream is slowing down. There's no question about it. Okay?
Moving right along.
That's what we're doing. So we have a picture now of solar panels, and this is part of the solar array that's in the article. But this is just a tiny part. This is from ABC, which is the Australian Broadcast Corporation.
Final panels installed at a Queensland solar farm called the nation's largest.
Construction on a massive solar farm in Queensland's Western Downs has been... I love the way the English people talk about hills and they call them downs. You ever think about that?
I never thought about that, no.
Okay, it has been completed. I actually looked it up. The word down, meaning a hill,
means up.
It is very closely related to the word dune, meaning a hill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it will have capacity to power 235,000 homes, called Australia's largest wind farm. The 400 megawatt project has more than a million solar panels. So this project is 80 times the size of that big solar farm at the Brattleboro landfill.
I'm going to mention that.
Yeah.
The solar array on the capped Brattleboro landfill has 16,000 solar panels, totaling 5.7 megawatts.
Okay.
And a million versus 16,000 panels.
Yeah.
400 megawatts versus 5.7 megawatts.
Yeah. This thing.
So this is a big array.
Yeah. This array is like, that array is the size of the Brattleboro landfill. This array is the size of Brattleboro.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we're up to our last story.
That's what it looks like to me.
This is from the Public News Service.
New hydropower dam designs leave fish unharmed. Now that's it.
That is interesting, isn't it? Many fish, including eels, migrate between fresh water and ocean in their life cycles. Their migrations can be blocked by hydroelectric dams. Hydropower developer Nautel has designed an innovative turbine that is designed to allow fish safer passage through the turbine itself. This is from Public News Service.
I got an interesting quote.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about this, but it's an interesting quote by David Attenborough.
Oh, good.
What we do in the next 20 years will determine the future for all life on Earth.
Well, I think what we've been doing for the last 20 years will determine the future for all life on Earth, too.
I think you're right.
Yeah. I wanted to mention... What?
I hope it's not too little too late.
I do, too. And I think there's some realistic hope for that. I want to point out here what they're talking about in this particular turbine design is a turbine that looks like a fan, a wind turbine, a propeller on a boat, that kind of thing. But there are many, many kinds of turbines.
Oh, sure.
And some of them, like the Archimedes screw turbine, Archimedes screw turbines are used for pumping water, and they're also used for generating electricity from the water. And they...
Oh, are they?
Oh, yeah, there's two of them.
It would work.
Huh?
It would work.
Yeah, there's two of these that were built by Queen Elizabeth II, not personally. Although she was able to repair trucks. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, no.
She learned how to handle trucks when she was in some volunteer service during the Second World War, and she said that she distracted her mother mightily by discussing spark plugs at the dinner table. But she had a couple of these Archimedes screw turbines installed to produce power for Windsor Castle. And the two turbines, they can operate on a very low head. These were operating on like 6 feet head of water. Taking over a lock in the system that was designed to raise and lower boats that were traveling on the Thames. And when fish go through those, they don't even realize that they're going through anything special, because the Archimedes screw turbines they just move the water. They don't have propellers that are pushing it.
They're all immersed in water.
That's right. So the picture that we have here is a picture of a more or less kind of standard hydropower dam, not a very tall one, but the water is flying through it at a certain speed. And what these people designed was a type of turbine that eels could go through. And eels are very long, skinny fish. And they will go through without being damaged. You ever eaten an eel, Tom?
Probably, but I couldn't tell you that for sure.
I really love eels. The way that they're, if you go to sushi places, you can get them. They're really, really good. They're not served raw, at least not in my experience, and they're usually smoked, but they are quite delicious.
I can't say whether I've had them or not, you know. Chances are over my lifetime I have had them, but I can't say they were memorable.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think that concludes our show for today.
It does. We have a slide here that tells the viewers to have a marvelously lovely week.
You all come back and see us now, you hear?
Tom is waving goodbye. I'm waving goodbye. Tom wants you to come back and see us now.
Yeah, why not?
Well, I'm going to suggest...
My cat isn't waving. Hey, wave.